This here is my Range Rover Classic and she's pretty poorly at the minute. But let me get her into the garage and then I'm going to show you exactly what's wrong. But in this episode, we're going to get all these issues rectified, or at least most of them. All right, this battery is actually too big for what we need. As you can see, it's moving the holder out the way, but hopefully it's just to get it started and get it into the garage over there, just so I can run you through everything and start working on it really. But yeah, I've also got it connected to the jump pack on the jump start mode. So yeah, hopefully this will fire up. Alright. Okay, well, this is running, but not very well. And the engine being a bit poorly is the start of it. That is one of the issues we're going to be taking care of. You might notice a sort of bodge job down here with our coolant hose. Well, I'm going to explain all of that in a second to you. But yeah, let me get this into the garage and then yeah, we'll take it from there. So yeah, we got quite a few things to be doing on this car. Just to get it sort of running right, I want to try and get this turned around quite quickly and see if we can get it off to auction pretty soon, because as much as I like the car, it's good fun. I'm sort of trying to trim my car load at the minute, which you might have noticed the driveway is looking pretty empty. It's just the Range Rover and my Mustang out there. The Mustang is for sale, the Ferrari has gone, and the Aston, well, there's going to be quite a story to tell you guys about that in due course, but I'm not sure how much I can tell you just yet. But yeah, I guess I could say it went to a garage and it is still in the garage because it might have got damaged whilst it was at the garage. That's probably about as much as I can say for now. So yeah, bit of a frustrating one. But anyway, trying to trim my load, got to get this car gone, and then hopefully I can save up and get like a really nice fun project. There is one I've got an eye on, but I want to make sure I've got enough funds to do it before I start it. Or before I at least buy the car. All right, the other issue is this door lock. It opens absolutely fine from down here, but from inside on either the back bit or that bit, you can see it hardly moves the door. And so yeah, you can't actually open it from inside. It's only on the side. That side's absolutely fine as far as I'm aware. But yeah, we're gonna have to take the door card off inside and just have a look. I'm guessing something's just come loose or come off. So hopefully shouldn't be too bad. The other thing is these alloys. I just hate the black. I think white on black looks awful. So the plan is to get these off, get them sprayed into a nice silver. I think that should really help make them pop. And then this is the bit which is probably going to be the hardest bit for me, which I have been working on behind the scenes. I know I haven't posted for a while, but there is a reason for that. I've been having to sort out the paint on the Ferrari, the Mustang, and even the Aston. You'll remember the front bumper needed sorting out as well. So I have been learning to use a spray gun. So whilst I'm not professional standard, I'm actually capable of doing it. So the plan would be then obviously give this car a thorough wash down, give it a sand down. I mean, this paint that's been put on here, I think it's almost just been rolled on. I mean, you can see it started sort of cracking in places like here and down here. So the plan is to get it all sanded back down, and then we're going to lay a 2K direct gloss straight onto it. Again, once we've laid down a coat of primer if needed. But yeah, so there's quite a lot to do, but hopefully we can get this car turned around fairly soon. And yeah, I think it should make a good video. So I thought I'd bring you guys along. And yeah, it's nice to be back actually. It's nice to be back. So it was time to give the car its first wash in a while, which was actually kind of satisfying. It did start to point out some serious issues with the paint job on the car though. Okay, so I've now got the car back in, and this is why I want to repaint it. I mean, firstly, it looks a bit shiny. That's purely just because there's still water on it, but it is almost a completely matte white. And yeah, it just shouldn't be like that. I've got a feeling the previous owner, he did a lot of, I've sort of discovered since owning the car, he's done a lot of sort of dodgy looking work. So I suspect this has literally just been rolled with some white paint. It's not very thick, as you can see. If a jet wash can just pick it up like this. It's the same on the top, to be honest. There's loads of sort of cracks. Let's see if I can show you all this is just developed. Again, it just looks like they've just rolled down some paint or something like that. Not anywhere near as thick as it should be. Obviously, we should have some kind of base coat and then some lacquer over. Obviously, primer even first, but looking through here, it looks like we go straight to metal. Right, usually it would make sense to start with the mechanical stuff before the cosmetic, but I'm actually waiting for the mechanical stuff to arrive. So I've got a couple of these tyres off, and I'm just going to start by, giving it a wash down, sand down, trying to get it as flat as inside as possible in the alloys. And then we're going to see if we can just spray this silver. First off, I gave the wheels a quick wash down before sanding it and preparing it for paint. This is not a permanent fix, but I wanted to see if I liked it in silver first. If I did, the plan is to send the alloys off to be refurbished properly down the line. I saw a trick online to use cards around the edge so you don't get overspray. I did try this initially, but once the first gale of wind hit blowing them all over, I eventually just reverted to tape. I mean, for a quick change up and a quick paint, how much better does that look? I mean, that's gonna look so much better. I can't believe someone painted these black in the first place. They look awful like that. Really happy with this. Yes. Okay, well, new morning here. Trying to do all the work inside today because it is raining cats and dogs outside. British summer in a nutshell for you. But I've just been looking down here and I've spotted something which doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. So as you can see here, when I've taken this off, I've noticed obviously the brake pad doesn't seem to be catching all of the disc. Now, it's not scored too badly, but obviously it's not working down here. I've had a look at the pad and it looks like it's pretty much non-existent, but this shouldn't be lining up here. This should be lining up further down here, obviously, because it's meant to catch all of this disc. So I rolled around to here and this one's in properly, but this one is miles out. And if you actually have a look, there is plenty of pad left on it. It's just not located properly. So we're going to have a look at that as well. I've got a feeling I'm going to have to take this caliper off and relocate this properly. But yeah, worth checking the other side actually. I mean, well, I'm slightly bemused here because yeah, these just aren't located right at all. This has slid around. So these are going to need doing. I mean, wow, what a job they've done on these. I mean, from what I could see, the fronts were okay, but I'll probably have to check them again now. And that's just beginning to add to the list of things that I think the previous owner has done, but not done very well. I mean, that's 2 out of 2 brake pads on the back that just haven't been installed properly. So I think whilst I'm waiting for the paint to dry on these, I'm gonna get in there and have a look at just taking those calipers off and just see if we can get those pads properly located, because that is horrific. There's literally just no pressure on them. Wow. Look at that. That has been wrong for a long, long time. Jesus. Well, that could be an issue. Looks like it feeds brake fluid through here. And obviously if it's not been lined up right, it could have just been leaking out of here all this time. It's a theory anyway. It's better than anything else I've got at this point. Yeah, this is turning out to be a bit more of a job than I thought it was. I wasn't quite expecting this. Ah, what a pain. I just wanted to do a little bit of a freshen up on the exterior, sort out some engine bits, but yeah, I guess this is the thing with older cars. You start looking and you just keep finding more and more, but well, more and more things wrong with it. But okay, well, it is what it is. It could be worse, couldn't it? I guess it could be a gearbox or something like that. And thankfully, fingers crossed for now, the gearbox is absolutely fine. Next up was to drain the oil and swap out the oil filter. What I've just done is I've just rubbed some oil in along the O-rings just to help with the seal. So that can hopefully just go back on. These are only meant to go hand tight. It's a bit slippy.
bit slippy, so I'm just making sure I get enough on it. Okay, voila. This bodge was previously done just to get me home. It turned out the hose had been routed such that it was rubbing on the belt, which eventually wore through the rubber, causing a massive leak. As I'm having to change the hose anyway and drain the coolant, I figured it's a good time to just flush the system.
Whole bunch of coolant coming out. I mean, this is going right down, I imagine.
Following on from this, I decided to remove the fuel rail and the fuel injectors so I could have a look inside the engine.
I basically want to try and see how much of the inside of this engine is okay. So I've got my boroscope, I might as well use it. We're going to put it down the injector holes now, and hopefully it will all be looking okay. Hopefully nothing too disastrous. Obviously this was running like a bag of nails, or at least in my opinion it was. So there's got to be something up. Let's see if we can find it.
Now you can't really see too much here, but yeah, I'm just going to take that as good news.
Hopefully new coolant hose. Obviously we're going to have fresh oil, new oil filter. We've got new fuel filter on the way. New fuel rail, new fuel injectors. I think this car should be running pretty nicely by that point. I'll get some fresh fuel. That'll be just as important. But yeah, I'm beginning to think that maybe this might not be so bad. Then it's just the brakes that we need to sort out. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do that tomorrow. I realised, I can mention this actually. So basically when the pads are meant to be in, there's actually meant to be some clips on top that are holding it in. And then there's some pins that run through here and also on this side as well. That's meant to hold it all in place. And obviously the pins are, nowhere to be seen. So I've ordered the pins, they're due to arrive, but tomorrow I hopefully should just be able to lock it up into place for now. And then once the pins come back, just pop those in. Well, put the clips in, put the pins in, and it should hold in place like it's supposed to. At which point I can rebleed the brake system again, and hopefully we'll have pressure once more. I do think that they've just become so dislodged that every time I'm hitting the brake, it's just squirting brake fluid out onto the road or inside of the tyre, or inside of the wheels. So yeah, hopefully we'll get that fixed as well. So getting there. I still don't think we'll have time to do any paint this week, but things are looking like they're heading in the right direction, I think.
The next morning, I installed the pads and set about bleeding the brake system. Judging by the colour of this brake fluid, this wouldn't surprise me if this was the first time the brake fluid has been changed since 1979. That's ridiculous.
Right, well, that pedal is already feeling rock solid to me, but I'm just going to keep going around anyway. It's good that we got our brake pressure back. I'm just going to loosen off the nut a little bit more just to make sure we're still getting some fluid through, and just pushing out any last bits of air we've got. But I'm pretty confident now that we got most of it, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so far so good today. And fingers crossed we have a little bit of brake pressure, or I'm going to be driving into my other Range Rover or my Mustang, which would not be ideal. I mean, yeah, I think we've surely got to be all agreed. Silver looks so much better. Really happy I've done that swap now. And yeah, we can get on with just doing a couple of bits up here. Just want to get, I've got a new hose pipe, a new coolant hose, so we're going to get that fit. Get this topped up as well. I'll leave the cap open and basically rebleed the cooling system. We've got all the old coolant there. I'm going to use new coolant. Well, initially I'm just going to use water. Then I'm going to flush it out and then fill it with coolant. All right, well, slight hitch in the plans. The new injectors, I've got one of the 4 new injectors arrive. So I'll fit one of the new ones, and then I'll just refit 3 of the old ones again for now, just so we can get this all ready, get this outside, sort out the cooling system. There's enough we can be doing because it reckons it's not going to arrive till tomorrow, and it's only midday today. There's plenty of work still to be done, so I don't really want to just stop here. So yeah, I'm going to get some oil filled up, get this coolant hose on, like I said, reinstall these fuel injectors, including the new one, and then go from there.
In goes the new coolant tube along with the oil, some water, and reinstalling the fuel injectors and fuel rail. So the car had fired back into life, meaning I can now try and run it up to temperature so I can bleed that cooling system. The celebratory run was probably a bit premature though. With good pressure on the brakes, I was now able to turn the car around.
Right, well obviously we're waiting for the engine to heat up. Once the engine heats up, it'll turn the thermostat on and it'll start circulating the coolant, I believe, via the radiator, which is when we should start seeing it move around the system and start seeing air bubbles form, I think. Again, diesel engines are just a bit in unfamiliar territory on, but yeah, I'm going to let it warm up and just see if we start to see bubbles coming out of here, which would be a good sign. I mean, the main concern for me is that these hoses, it's the same on the old ones, they just sort of seem a bit squashed. This one, just on the end there, just looks like it's not sitting quite straight. And I think once like coolant or water in this case starts flowing through it, they should straighten out, but not for now they haven't. So basically it's a waiting game now, just trying to promote it by just keeping the revs probably about 1500 is probably what I'm trying to keep it at. Not a specific number, just trying to get speed it up a little bit rather than just let it idle. And once we get to 180 Fahrenheit, sort of 90 degrees odd, I think it's just under, we should be able to see it hopefully level out and stop going up. And then I'm just going to keep letting it run out after that. Yeah, hopefully it should be okay.
And a fair while later, we're at 180 Fahrenheit.
Alright, we seem to have got all the air out of the system because it's maintaining its temperature perfectly now, which means the thermostat opens between 160 and 180 Fahrenheit, I believe. So the thermostat's open. I can tell because all that rubbish is now also in the expansion tank. But that's why we're doing a flush, because I figured there was going to probably be some rubbish in there. It probably hasn't been flushed for decades, genuinely. So yeah, just going to let it run out now. It's not had a long run out like this for a while, so just going to let it burn the fuel, and yeah, give it, just hopefully it makes it a bit healthier. I mean, seems like the one injector we've installed seems to be working. Obviously the oil and the filter are all good because we've got good oil pressure. Yeah, this is going okay, and obviously we know the brakes work, so far so good. Also, just a side point, this is the Reg. Does anyone else read that as like kiss, hug, kiss, tit? Which maybe is a fair way to describe me trying to work on these cars with zero to no experience, but yeah, A-grade tit.
And on that note, that was the end of the third day.
Okay, now on day 4, and I've figured out how to get this air filter out, and yeah, it looks pretty disgusting. Not good at all. Now, when I actually type in the part number, which is listed up here, the Crosland 958K, it just comes up with options from America. So I've measured up a Bosch one. The dimensions are near enough exactly the same, a few mil out on some bits, but sort of less important bits. So I've gone ahead and ordered that, and that should arrive early next week. So for now, we're going to keep using this, but yeah, early next week I'll be swapping it out. So yeah, that should hopefully help with our smoking issue. I think it should help anyway, because that looks pretty rough. That's not filtering much at all. So yeah, all good. Right, and now we have also got our brake clips. As you can see there, we've got our other 3 injectors I can install, and also our fuel filter. So let's get on with that.
To be honest, this is where it felt like I was having issue after issue. I swapped out the fuel injectors, which was easy enough, but once that was done, the car tried to fire into life just once, but then refused to do so again. I did some reading, and it turns out I would need to purge the air from the fuel system. I did this, but there was still no joy, and the engine continued to just crank but not fire. A few moments later though, I thought I'd developed an even bigger problem.
I really hate myself sometimes. So, because I've been having issues with the fuel filter, I've tried even putting the old one back in, putting that one back in, and yeah, we're just getting leaking. The fuel's just leaking from somewhere now, and I think it's leaked onto the starter, and it's now caused the starter to stop working just very suddenly. I'll show you. Right, so keys in, get our ignition, and at the point I try and turn it, there's just nothing now, and there used to be a lot. so frustrating. I'm trying to do everything right in this car. I'm trying to change the filters, trying to get everything just to get this car running nicely. And I feel like I'm getting bitten in the arse by just trying to actually do things right. Oh, so frustrating. All right, well, I think I might have found the issue. I'm just trying to I was looking at the starter and I noticed this was not connected, and it looks like that is literally the starter point that it's meant to sit on, like that. All right. Oh, let's give that a go. I really hope that solved that, because yeah, this would be quite demoralizing if I've screwed a starter. Come on, please. Yes! Yes! Thank goodness. Oh, guys, genuinely so relieved about that. I thought I'd knackered the starter. I think I'm gonna have a coffee and then get back to this fuel pump in a sec. Whoa. This has been quite stressful.
I could see I was getting fuel to the injectors, but the car still wouldn't start. So I decided to swap back to the old injectors. The issue remained, so I turned my attention to the fuel filter and noticed I hadn't installed it correctly. There were some gaskets under the housing that would need replacing. Even though this was now installed correctly, the bleeder bolt on top of the fuel filter didn't seem to want to tighten properly anymore, which was causing fuel to leak out of it. So what to do? Well, I replaced the bolt for one with a slightly longer thread, and this certainly appeared to slow down the leak, but not completely remove it. At this point, the car decided to fire up, and to give you some perspective, I laboured on this fuel filter and injectors for around 5 hours before this moment. So it was a relief to see it fire up, as I can now focus on locating this leak. On closer inspection, the leak was coming from one of the bolts on the right.
Right, I found the source of the leak. It was this bit. I was playing around with it at one point, and anyway, the rail's broken just from twisting it around.
And all I needed to do here was put the connector back onto the good bit of fuel line I had and refit it.
All right, my fix has worked. I've connected it in here. Turned out it was leaking from here, so I'm tightening it as tight as I can.
And with that, the car was back moving again with the new fuel filter installed, and in fairness, it might be my imagination, but it seemed to be helping the engine to run a bit smoother.
All right, well, this is clearly going to be a bit more of a project than I was first hoping. I was really hoping to be able to try and even just paint it this week, but that's definitely not going to happen. It's nowhere near being prepped. I've just noticed we've lost brake pressure again, so somehow we're losing brake pressure. All right, well, just a quick one. The brake fluid is all gone, and yeah, there's no obvious signs of it leaking out along here. So I've just had a look at the back pads, and yeah, they have moved whilst I've been waiting for these clips to arrive, so it has caused the brake fluid to run out from there. So not as bad as I thought. Just basically need to put the pins in, put the pads in properly, secure it with the pins, and then bleed it, and then we'll be absolutely fine. Yeah, just thought I'd let you know, it's not the end of the world, that one, but everything else is still a complete calamity. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. What do you think of this car? It's an interesting build, and yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Diesel's a completely new car for me while working on a diesel engine, so it's all a bit weird. I didn't know you had to bleed the fuel filter and stuff like that, so I'm learning sorry about that, hopelessly running out of memory. But next episode, what I'm hoping to do is air filter, inspect that brake leak again, fit those pins in properly, and then look to get this car painted as well, which is going to take quite a bit of prep work. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. If there's any advice you can give me, let me know. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the video. It feels good to be back, even though it has been a bit stressful, a bit more stressful than I was planning. It is what it is. We've got to learn how to work on diesels as well as petrols, even though I know we all prefer a petrol really. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button down below if you've enjoyed this video. It'll really help me to try and grow this channel, and yeah, subscribe as well if you haven't. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.